Hello, and welcome to this week's Career Chat. Each and every week, we try to come to you to bring you various people in the community and beyond. We have teen viewers and adult viewers. So, teen viewers, you probably don't know what you want to do yet, but maybe some of these careers can inspire you to look towards the future, to see what you might want to do and explore. Do some research on different careers. If you hear about a career we talk about either today or in the other career chats. And then adults, maybe you're in between jobs. Maybe you are currently in a position that you are not too fond of, and maybe you want to look towards moving towards a different direction in a new career path. So maybe we can inspire you to look at something you've never looked at before. I'm your host today, Shannon Crooks. I'm a librarian 3 at the Hillcrest Heights branch of the Prince George's County Memorial Library System. On today's episode, we have Michanna Talley Tate, and she is an attorney. She's in Greenville, South Carolina. Me and Michanna kind of go way back. What school do we go to? Elementary, middle, high school? One of those. And then I know Howard.
Cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we go way back. So I've been following Michanna's journey throughout her career, and now she's an attorney. So I wanted to bring her to the show so she could tell us a little bit about what it's like to be an attorney and, you know, her overall journey throughout the process. So Michanna, the first question is, what is an attorney? Because some of our viewers may not know, and what are the job duties and responsibilities that you have?
Okay, well, an attorney is considered a counselor of the law, and it's kind of hard to describe exactly what an attorney is because there's so many different types of attorneys, but essentially we represent individuals, whether it's in court, whether it's in contract negotiations or things of that nature, but we represent other people. We are their voice, essentially. And so what that may mean is that we defend you in criminal court. What it may mean is that we represent the state. It also may mean that we're the attorney that handles your real estate closing. We may be the attorney that negotiates a contract for you. There's so many different areas of law that's really, hard to pin down one, but essentially we represent people. We take on whatever it is that they need help with, whether it's a problem or whether it's something good like real estate closing or an adoption. And we handle it. We step into their shoes and handle it based on what the law allows for us to do for them.
Okay. So how long have you been working in this industry?
I have been an attorney since 2012. So it's been about 8.5 years now because I believe I was sworn in May of 2012.
Mm-hmm. And I know you started off in a different career. You wanted to do biology. So what made you switch to being an attorney?
So originally, I did go to school for biology. I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in biology. I have graduate certification in public health. And I actually had left the DC area and moved back to South Carolina. I was teaching biology at Greenville Tech. And I was trying to decide if I wanted to get a doctorate in something science related or if I want to do something different. And at that time, I wanted to be self-employed. Well, prior to leaving the DC area, I was a scientist under a government contract, lots and lots of money. So science is very expensive. So that's not something that you can be self-employed in. Mm-hmm. I got graduate certification in public health, specifically epidemiology and biostatistics. So I actually thought about getting a doctorate in that. But I guess I like to make my life a little bit difficult because that was very easy to me. So then I decided, you know what, I think I'm going to go to law school. I knew it was a profession I could be self-employed just because my dad's an attorney. And I studied for the Lsat, took a couple practice tests and took it and applied to law school. So wow. That's kind of how that happened.
Wow, that's awesome. So viewers, I think we've said this several weeks. If you already think you're going in one direction, you might end up going in another direction, and that's okay. Just be open to the possibility of making a change. Because sometimes we think we're going to be interested in something long-term as a career, and then we just feel like, no, this is just not for us. I'm bored, or I don't like it, or I have a passion for something else, and that's okay. Just embrace the journey, you know. So next question, Michanna, what was your educational path from high school to where you are now? You told us a little bit, but what
Well,
else?
my educational path was all over the place. So I'm going to first say the path to be an attorney. If somebody wants to go the straight path, then I'll tell you what my path was. So
Okay.
the regular path to being an attorney is you go to college and you get a bachelor's degree. It doesn't matter what it is in. It could be in art. I mean, it could be in anything. You could be in whatever you enjoy. And if you get a bachelor's degree, then you can apply to law school. There are no prerequisites for law school. So, you know, that's essentially very simple. Bachelor's degree is typically 4 years, maybe a little bit more depending on your major. And then law school is typically 3 years. So you can definitely go straight from high school to college to law school. That's simple. That's not what I did because I never do anything the normal way. So I went to undergrad. Got a bachelor's degree in 2004, got a master's degree in 2006. After that, I worked as a scientist in the DC area. And then what did I do next? And then I started teaching at Greenville Technical College in 2008. Around the middle of 2008 is when I entered the program for graduate certification in public health. That's also around the time that I decided to apply to law school. So I was in school from 2000 to 2004, 2004, 2006. Then I started back in school in 2008, and I started law school in January of 2009. So I don't even think there are any schools now that allow for you to start in the spring. They even phased it out at my law school. But I actually was in law school and finishing up my graduate certification in public health at the same time. So I started law school in the spring, January 2009, and I graduated in May of 2011. So I actually graduated a little bit early because I went to summer school both summers. And I did a winter session. So I actually did law school in 2.5 years instead of 3. So that was my path. Like I said, I never do anything the straight way. That's what I did.
Wow. So in between, you got public health and, you know, you were a scientist. Do you use any of the skills that you developed in those careers or through that educational path now as an attorney?
Now as an attorney, currently I work for the state. However, I was in private practice for 8 years, and part of that was handling medical malpractice cases. And I feel that my scientific background did help, just because I think, you know, an attorney that just has a degree in maybe English, when they read the medical records, I think that I understood them a little bit more than just, you know, a normal person. But one of the things that I kind of omitted from my story was that I was a scientist. I was using my biology degree. And then I started teaching online for University of Phoenix, and I taught physical geology. I've also taught for Colorado Technical University. I taught Introduction to Sciences. These are things that I did, you know, part-time. And I also taught at University of South Carolina Upstate, USC Upstate. I taught biology night classes there for 5 years, even while I was an attorney, because I still was trying to keep my foot in the science realm. I gave it up in 2017. But so I tell people, you can do whatever you want to do, because I've been a scientist, a college professor, now I'm a lawyer. So I've used that in the past, and who knows, I may use it in the future, because like I said, I am an attorney for the state. And I can tell you, when I interviewed, my now bosses really thought it was super cool that I had a degree in epidemiology and biostatistics, because right now we have the pandemic going on, and you hear of epidemiologists, and I never used my graduate certification in it, but it is interesting, because when I don't watch it that much anymore because it's a little overwhelming, but when I used to watch the press conferences, I'd be like, I know that. I remember, learning about that. So I've used it in the past in teaching college, and, who knows, I may go back to that at some point. So, I didn't completely leave my science background, behind me.
Okay. So viewers, that's a very interesting point Michanna made. She continued to, dibble and dabble in, previous education for, part-time work, or just because she had a passion for it. So don't feel like whatever degrees you get or certifications you get if you move to a different career that you may not revisit it because you could. And now with the pandemic, Michanna might visit it again. Who knows what might happen? She might be needed during the pandemic. So good point, Michanna. So next question is, how did you get interested in your profession as an attorney?
Well, I actually was not interested in being a lawyer. My dad is a lawyer. All of his friends are lawyers. All their kids are lawyers. So I was surrounded by the legal profession. I mean, to the point where our yearly vacation was when we would go to Hilton Head to the lawyer conference. And my dad would go to classes during the day. And me and my brother and my mom would go to the beach. I mean, that's how involved in the legal profession I was. So I never wanted to be a lawyer. But I will say the things that I am good at is what lawyers use every day. I mean, you know, people of course watch TV and they think all you do is go to the courtroom, but that's, you know, even for attorneys that do go to court, that's like this much of what we do. Most of what we do is researching, writing, and reading. I mean, that's all law school is. So I'm, you know, I've always been really good at writing, and I have I guess a knack for being able to break down information. And so I think the things that I am good at just kind of mesh well with being an attorney. And also I was just ready to do something different. And I will say that a law degree, whether you actually practice law or not, is very valuable. There are a lot of people that have a law degree, but they actually are in HR or they're executives of different companies and things of that nature. So, you know, I feel like I kind of ended up in this because I'm good at what makes a good lawyer. And, you know, I can use these skills for who knows what I'll do next. We'll see.
Right. It gives you some versatility, which I think a lot of people, they look at their career and they say, hey, this is all I can do, but it may not be. It may be that you can take those skills and transfer them to another career, a different position, another organization. So I talk each week with the viewers and I say to them, hey, if you have skills, write them down, look at them, see if they could be transferred to another organization or another position, because you never know if you're looking to go into something, you may have the skills and qualifications to be able to apply for those type of positions. So next question, Michanna, how much time did you invest into getting to where you are?
I invested a lot of time, even going back to undergrad. I mean, depending on your major, I guess how much you study is, you know, you may or may not need to study that much. For being a biology major, I did study a lot. So, I mean, hours upon hours of studying, but that prepared me for law school because every night you have to read hundreds of pages and read all these different cases and be prepared to be called on. I don't know if people know this, but law school uses what's called the Socratic Method, where the teacher kind of talks, but they call on people to answer questions and try to work through issues with you in the classroom. So it's more of it's not a sit down and you're just going to lecture me and teach me type of learning. So, I mean, you have to be prepared because depending on the teacher, some of them go based on last name, they go down the alphabet, some of them call randomly. So every night you have to read hundreds of pages in addition to writing for your research and writing classes. So, I mean, it's very time consuming, whether it's biology or whether it's law school. Those are definitely fields that will require a lot of time, a lot of reading, a lot of studying. So if you are somebody that's not that disciplined to make yourself sit down and read something every night, just to be honest with you, it's not gonna work for you.
Wow. So students, teenagers, if you're listening, I know I've heard a lot of students tell me that's what they want to be, is an attorney, but I don't think they really realize the amount of studying and research and writing and being prepared for class that they, you know, have to do. So you can start now, teenagers. If you're in high school or even college students, start reading. I know in college, sometimes we get the syllabus or syllabi and we're just like, okay, we'll just go to class and get it. We're not gonna read and be prepared, but you really should start practicing now. Even if it's not a requirement, you go to the class and you know the teacher is gonna, you know, go over the information. what I call spoon feed you the notes. You can read and be prepared so that you can say, okay, I know that, I know that, I know that. So that if you do decide to go to law school, you're really ready.
And if I can add to that also, for anybody who may be thinking about going to law school, you know, it's not like grad school or undergrad where you have like 4 tests and they may drop one and they, you know, average them. So most law schools, you go to class the whole semester and you have one final exam. So if you fail it, that's it. So, you know, research and writing, you write papers throughout the semester. So that's that. But like, no, you have one exam. Wow. And so you don't get to remember, you know, what you did the first couple of weeks and get tested on it and forget it, or even get tested on it and then just have to review. Like, no, you don't have an exam to the end of the semester. Wow. And it is on everything cumulatively that you have learned. So that's another thing. So you have to be really good at test taking, and I don't mean like multiple choice. I mean like writing. Be prepared to take long tests that are hours long, and then of course that prepares you to take the bar. Every state is different. Most states, their bar is 2 days. When I took the South Carolina bar, it was 3 days. I think it's 2 now, but it was 8 hours a day for 3 days. What? So, you know, yeah. So prepare yourself for that.
8 hours each day? Oh my goodness. So tell us a little bit about what the bar exam is like, because I think people are thinking that it's just like a test, like in college.
Okay. So the bar exam is awesome. But actually, everybody talks about the bar exam, but there's actually 2 tests that we have to take as attorneys. The first one that you have to take is called the MPRE, and it's on professional responsibility. But you can take it while you're in law school. So like I took it my last year of law school. The MPRE is ask questions like, you know, if you have a client, can they give you a boat instead of paying you? You know, different stuff like that. Or can they involve you in their business? Things like that. And it's maybe, I don't know, maybe a 2 or 3 hour test. And you have to get a certain score. So everybody takes the same test throughout the whole United States, but you just have to get whatever score your state requires. So I believe, and these numbers may have changed because I've been an attorney for a while now, but at the time, I believe South Carolina required a 75 out of 120 to pass. I believe the state of Florida maybe required an 80. So as long as you get the score, whatever the score your state needs, you're good. So that's the MPRE. And then you have the bar. So the bar is state specific. So when you become a lawyer, you have to determine what state do you want to practice in. Most states do not have what we call reciprocity, meaning, okay, I'm a lawyer in South Carolina, so I can go work in North Carolina also. No. So you have to decide what state you want to take the bar in, and every state's bar is different. A lot of them now are doing what we call the UBE, which is the Universal Bar Exam, which is primarily multiple choice. That was not what I had. And based on your score, you can use that to possibly work in another state, or what we call waive into another state. But when I took it, that wasn't the case. So the first day was multiple choice, which was what we call the MBE section. And the other 2 days were all essays. On South Carolina law. So the first day you had to know what the majority law was in most of the states and answer questions in that way. And then the second and third days, it was just South Carolina law. You don't know what questions they're going to ask ahead of time. You don't even know what areas of law it's going to be. So you just have to make sure that you know family law, criminal law, and probate law, and all of that, because you don't know what the question's going to be. And it, like I said, it was 8 hours a day for 3 days, and it was awful, but you get through it somehow. But now I think it's 2 days, and most states were 2 days anyway. I think South Carolina was 3 days, California back when I took it. So it is definitely a test of stamina, for sure. So.
Isn't it an expensive test?
Oh, yes. So that is another, because I had family members like, oh, you should come, take the North Carolina bar. Well, when I looked at the class to study for it, because there's a class you can take in addition to taking the bar, it probably was going to cost me at least $3,000. So there is a class that you can take to study for the bar through different companies. The class is roughly about $1,500. Now I'm sure it's completely virtual, but back when I was taking it, you could take it in person, or you could do like online coursework. And so the class itself is probably about $1,500. Most people do not, all they do is eat and breathe the bar during the summer. Because the bar is typically offered in February and July. Now this year, because of COVID, it's a whole bunch of weird stuff going on. But typically it's offered in February and July. So normally you would get out of law school, you would graduate law school in May. You would immediately start your bar class, and it would end maybe a week before the test. So that means, you know, May, June, first part of July, all you're doing is studying. To the point where people do not work. I mean, they even have bar loans for people to just live on while they are studying for the bar.
Wow.
So that's how you have to get prepared for that. Another thing people need to be thinking about if they want to be an attorney is, in order to even take the bar, you have to go through what we call character and fitness, which means the state looks into your background completely. You have to tell them everywhere you've lived your whole life, every job you've ever had. If you have any speeding tickets or anything more serious, it has to come out. It doesn't even matter. Let's say you did something when you were, 14 years old. It doesn't matter. It has to come out. Even if the records were sealed, all of that has to come out. And if you are not truthful, it would be worse than you just being completely honest from the beginning. So they have to first say that your character and fitness is fine. And then take the bar. Because I have known people who took the bar and they passed, but they couldn't practice law because the character and fitness came back wrong. And then you got to go sit in front of, a panel, and they decide your fate. And of course, you've heard, people who have had criminal backgrounds who have become attorneys, and that's great, but every state is different. So it's possible that the state you want to work in may not be that lenient, whereas another state may be. So that's another thing. If that's something that you have to deal with, I would suggest looking into that before you decide what state you want to take the bar in. Because if, state of South Carolina, just because it's a southern state, maybe we're more strict than, New York. I don't know, but it's just something to think about.
Wow. So if someone wanted to know how each state was with regard to the character and fitness test, how could they find that information out?
They would need to, essentially you could just Google whatever state you're thinking about and Google their bar. And then within that, they usually have a page called like the bar examiners. Bar examiners are like the people that grade the test and they make all the decisions. They won't have their names on it. It's supposed to be secret, but they will have, the steps that you need to take in order to take the bar. And their character fitness is really big, so that's going to be something that's on there. And I'm pretty sure maybe you could reach out by phone or by email and ask them. Depending on the state, it may be something that you went through before you actually get to that point. Like, for example, I went to law school in Florida, and so at the time I wasn't sure, do I want to stay in Florida and practice law in Florida, or do I want to go back home? Florida has what they call CLIs, which basically means you can practice law as long as you have a mentor with you. They have to be with you at all times. And so you can go ahead and go through the character and fitness portion. So my senior year of law school, I actually went ahead and went through the character and fitness, and I was cleared. So depending on what state it is, you may already know, before it's time to really decide a state if, you would be able to get through that or not. But if you go into just Google whatever state it is, their bar association, and just kind of look on their website and see if you can get to the point where you see what they require. And they may have a character and fitness page, and it just kind of explains what they either do let in or don't. There are also attorneys that actually specialize in representing people specifically who want to be attorneys to get into the bar. So maybe you could even Google that, Google attorneys in your particular state that deal with that. They have attorneys that maybe deal with legal malpractice or deal with getting licensed. And then you could go ask them, because they would definitely know what that state allows in or what they definitely do not.
So viewers, do your research. We're in the Maryland, DC area and Virginia area, so you can start there if this is, an area maybe that you want to practice, or looking to other states. But that's a good point, because a lot of people don't think about that. They just think, hey, I'm going to law school, I'm going to go past the bar. I've never even heard of a character and fitness test for being an attorney before.
It's not a test, but it's really annoying. You really have to find everywhere you've ever lived, every job you've ever had. It's just annoying. Who keeps up with all that information? I actually still have my application, because if I ever need any of that information, I have it. Because it was annoying. You have to get references written by people. Just annoying.
Wow. Thanks for bringing that up to us. Very interesting. So, Michanna, what kind of obstacles did you face in the pursuit of your profession?
Well, I think the first obstacle was the LSAT. In my opinion, I do not test well when it comes to like standardized tests. I don't test as smart as I am or as smart as people say I am. My test scores don't really coincide with that. So that was my first hurdle. I would tell you that my LSAT score sucked. But thankfully, the other stuff in my application was good. And then my personality was helpful, I think. But one of the things that I did not do, you can take a course for the LSAT, and I didn't do that. I took a couple practice tests at home and took a couple of mock tests. That's another thing people should look into. So here in the Greenville area, they offer mock LSAT exams at Furman. So I took those twice. At least that's just where they hold it. So I'm pretty sure that everywhere has that. And that's all I did to study for the LSAT aside from having my own book. But I would suggest you take a class if you want to. If you're really stuck on your LSAT score being high, that's probably what you need to do. It has logic games, which I am terrible at. I probably would be better at them now, but I did awful on that. And then it has a lot of reading comprehension. So I think that's the first hurdle. The second hurdle is just while I'm in law school, I was the type of student that like would sit in class and be completely quiet and just listen to the professor. Like I just like for somebody to talk to me and then I'll go home and read the book and get it. But law school doesn't allow you to do that. It's the Socratic Method. So I had to get over that. And I understand why they do that, because if you're in a courtroom, you definitely have to be able to be on your feet. But I still hated it. I mean, I loved school until I went to law school. I did not like law school, to be honest.
Well, what made you stick with it, Michanna?
I never quit anything, I passed law school. I wasn't failing or anything. I just didn't like it. I didn't like the way they do the class. I would just, because in science, all you do is sit there and be lectured to, and that's what I like. And then go read the book and you memorize it, and that's that. But it's just not like that. Now, some law schools may be a little bit different. Maybe they're getting away from the Socratic Method, but I doubt it. So it just wasn't, like, I'm not the person to ask questions or offer to answer a question, even if I knew the answer, and law school makes you do that at least sometimes. So.
Wow.
Other than that,
I've seen that on a couple of movies, and I said, "Is that for real?" And now
it's for real, like Legally Blonde. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what happens if you're in class and the professor calls on you and you don't know the answer and you say
then they're probably gonna make you feel like you're not that bright. Every professor is different. They all have different personalities. Some of them will definitely make you feel like, dang, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And some of them are super nice. What usually happens, though, if you don't know the answer, they'll try to walk you through the answer.
Okay.
But like if you haven't read a case at all and you have no idea what they're talking about, you may just not look that bright that day. I mean, to be honest.
Wow. But I can understand it prepares you for the courtroom. So when you got to the courtroom for your first trial or case, how did you feel? Did you really feel like, hey, I got this, or what?
I did. Yeah, I did. You can take classes in law school where you do like mock trials and stuff like that, which I did not, just because that's not my personality. Yeah, you just kind of have to get to the point where at least for me, when I'm in the courtroom, I am so focused on the judge and on the witnesses and the other attorney that I completely like block out everything behind me, whether it's a courtroom full of people or nobody. And you just have to be focused and know what it is what information you want to come out in the courtroom. So like because most people when they go to law school, to be honest, they probably have a fear of public speaking, and you just get over that. But most lawyers I know still say they have a fear of public speaking. It's just that when they get in the courtroom and they're doing what they know to do, it just you kind of are in a cloud almost. You don't see any of that other stuff. So it's just something you learn to do, I guess. But some lawyers, like, they don't go to the courtroom. Like, there's some attorneys, all they do is real estate closings. They never have to worry about that.
Talk to our viewers a little bit about that, because I think when people hear the word attorney, they're thinking court cases,
So some attorneys are what we call transactional, meaning they don't go to court, like ever. So one example of that are real estate attorneys. So when I was in private practice, I handled real estate closings. So I was the one dealing with the lender to make sure all the numbers are right, to get all the title work done. And title work just means the process of the house being transferred between person and person and person. So you're just making sure the person that's selling the house actually is the correct owner of the house. So all of it's transactional, all of it's paperwork, all of it's sending emails back and forth, all of it's getting the right papers signed. So in the state of South Carolina, only attorneys can do closings. That's not the case in every state, but South Carolina is. So those attorneys, all they would do all day is do real estate closings. They never see a court of law. Now, you do have some real estate attorneys who will do what we call real estate litigation, meaning like, I'm going to sue you over this property, and they will handle that. But a lot of them are just transactional. That's all they know how to do. You also have other attorneys who may never see a courtroom because all they do is negotiate contracts. That's possible. So, you know, you don't have to be the type of attorney that wants to go to court. You have some attorneys that just get people copyrights and patents and trademarks. Well, they may never go to court either.
So, but they still, when they go to law school, they still have to understand all different aspects of the law, even though they're not particularly going in the courtroom.
Right. So your first year of law school, you have required courses that you have to take, and your schedule is made for you. Your second and third year, after you're done with your required courses, you can take whatever electives you want to. But remember, when you take the bar, I mean, even if you just want to do real estate closings and you never want to go to a courtroom, the bar is still going to ask you questions about family law. It's still going to ask you questions about criminal procedure. So, you know, when you go to law school, you got to learn that stuff in order to pass the bar. Once you pass the bar, you know, you can forget it if you want to, but you have to know that to even pass the bar to become an attorney.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that, because it can be a little confusing. You know, most schools you go for a specialty and then you end with that specialty, or you test in that specialty. But thanks for explaining to us that you have to be well.
So if I can add to that, along that line, after law school, there is a second degree that you can get if you want to specialize. It's called an Llm degree, which most lawyers don't go back for, but some of them do. So for example, if you want to be a tax attorney, you're going to need an LLM. There's different LLMs. You can be environmental. So if you want to specialize, it's usually something that you go back and you do after you get your Juris Doctorate.
Awesome. So, Michanna, what if somebody was interested in the legal profession, but they didn't necessarily want to be an attorney? What are some other avenues they could possibly look into? I know paralegal is one people talk about a lot.
Yeah, people can be a paralegal, and they can either get, you know, go to school for it or not. I'm kind of the opinion that you can be trained for that, but everybody's different. Some law firms may require some type of certification. You could be a legal assistant, which basically a lot of times they would do the same thing as a paralegal. You even have investigators who can assist in cases. You know, some people just get a criminal justice degree and they work in the clerk's office at the court, or at the police department, or for the state trooper's office. You know, there's so many different things that you could do within the profession. But yeah, paralegal, legal assistant, work in the clerk's office, things of that nature. You could still be in the legal world. Or, you know, court reporters, that's another thing. So when we do depositions and when we have court, you have court reporters. Actually, at least here in South Carolina, there's a shortage of court reporters. So.
Okay, what's the qualifications to be a court reporter? Do you know?
I don't really know what the qualifications are. I'm pretty sure, of course, a high school diploma is required. And I think, you know, there's a course you would have to take. I'm not sure that you even have to have a degree. But you would have to be, you know, a certified court reporter. And even for people who speak other languages, you can be a certified court interpreter. And so that's something else, you know, you could do.
Awesome. So I've asked everybody this question, and I'm going to ask you, how has COVID changed what you do as an attorney, or changed the profession in general?
COVID has changed everything. So everybody has their different level of security, I guess you could say. So for example, prior to working for the state, I was doing a lot of real estate closings, and I would give people the option, you know, do y'all want to be in separate rooms? Do y'all want to sit 6 feet apart? All of the people that I did closings for, they were very, you know, comfortable being in one room, sitting around a very large table. But as far as court goes, many courts shut down. Most jury trials have completely stopped. Now to go into courthouses, you have to take your temperature, wear a mask. But a lot of stuff is shut down. I was supposed to go to court July 22nd, and that hearing was continued till October 6th. So it has really slowed everything down. Here in South Carolina, like an additional 90 days got added to most procedural dates. So it has slowed a lot of stuff down. It's still not back up and running. You know, people end up under quarantine because one person in the office, maybe their sister tested positive, and now the whole law office has to shut down. That has happened in Greenville. You know, now because I'm a state employee, we're working from home, but when I do go into the office, we have to wear a mask at all times. So it's definitely thrown everything, a wrench in everything. It's really stopped a lot of stuff. I mean, there's some stuff you can do, transactional stuff, but going in the courtroom is really not happening that much. If it's happening now, they're only allowing maybe 10 people, and you have to make sure that you stay fully separated. But it is allowing for a lot of hearings to happen electronically. So there have been hearings that happen by Zoom and WebEx. So it's changed a lot of stuff.
Wow. So, Michanna, I know young people, you know, they're not maybe at the point where they can go to college yet for, you know, a bachelor's degree or even graduate school or law school. What advice would you have for them if they wanted to look for volunteer opportunities in your field?
As far as volunteer opportunities, you can always reach out to different law firms in your area, see if they just need help filing or scanning. I mean, just for you to kind of get in there and kind of feel what it's like. You know, that's even possible for in the court. Sometimes the judges, you know, they have interns. Different state agencies have interns. So like if you get into the general counsel office of your state, they may have an internship that you can get into. And actually, like if you, well, COVID has changed this, but once that goes away or at least lessens, you can go into the courthouse and just sit in trials, sit in hearings. You know, family law is very private. They don't let anybody other than parties in there. But civil cases, you know, people suing people because of a car accident or criminal cases, you can just go sit in the courtroom and kind of watch. And you don't need anybody to give you, you know, information about that except, you know, when it's going to start. So I think there's a lot of opportunities, but definitely start with law firms. When I was in private practice, I would get letters from or emails from college students, you know, saying that they, you know, can I be your intern or things of that nature. So definitely just reach out and see what's available to you.
Yeah, so young people, I hope you're listening. I know, you know, you may not be the type of person to get out there and email people you don't know or call people you don't know, but that's really a way for you to say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. People don't know you want to do something unless you say something. So feel free to try to do your research, see what attorneys are out there, reach out to them, see if they're willing to bring you on board as an intern or just maybe to shadow, just if you just want to see what it's like for a person who works in this profession. Definitely do that. Michanna, so what resources or recommendations do you have for people who want to pursue this career?
I would say, I mean, Google can be great and it can be dangerous because you could definitely get some incorrect information. So I would suggest looking at your state bar's website. Most state bar websites, at least for South Carolina, they have lots of information on there, and it'll say whether you're in the public or whether you're a lawyer. So just go on there and kind of look, you know, if there's a particular law school that's close by or that you're interested in, go on their website and just research and look at what they say, because I don't want you to get incorrect information. And websites for the law schools and the bar, I know they won't steer you wrong. Everything else, like Wikipedia and just random blogs and stuff like that, I would not trust that information.
Yeah, so look for credible resources. Again, the library is the perfect place if you need help to try to find out if a resource is credible or not, or if a website is credible or not. We are here to help you with that. Thank you for that. Because I think a lot of people get on Google and they say, oh my goodness, you know, is that true? Is this true? You just have to make sure it's a reliable source.
And that's really dangerous with the law because laws are very state specific. Of course, you have federal law, but most things are going to fall under state law, and every state is different. And even every jurisdiction may do something slightly different. So, yeah, you can't really pay attention to that.
Okay. So I guess I know my viewers probably have this question. What if someone wanted to be a judge? What if they say, okay, yeah, I like, you know, being an attorney, or I'm thinking about being an attorney, but my ultimate goal is to be a lawyer. I mean, a judge.
Well, number one, you need to be an attorney, and you need to be an attorney for a certain period of time. And then there's two ways you can become a judge. And once again, every state is different, every jurisdiction is different, and depending on what type of judge it is, that's different. So judges are either appointed or they are elected. So obviously you may have to run a campaign just like any other politician.
Wow.
And even if you are appointed, you still almost have to run a campaign because the politicians in your state are the ones who vote on you and the ones who decide who gets that position. So either way, you're really going to have to like network, put yourself out there, let, you know, your past successes, you know, say, okay, I'm the right person for this job. I can tell you that actually right now in South Carolina, they're going through that process now. And everybody who's a member of the bar, we got an email with all the names of the people that are running for all these different positions. And we were able to go on there and say, did we feel that they were qualified or not qualified, and rank them. So, you know, everything that you're doing, somebody's watching. So all that's going to come back to bite you. So some attorneys, I mean, to be quite honest, are just not nice to their attorneys. So then if they run for a judgeship, you know, somebody may say something negative about them. And even if you are a judge, if you want to keep that position, when you come up for re-election or reappointment, we get those emails too, and we can go on there and say, I've been in front of this judge, he was great, or I was, you know, this judge sucked. You know, not sucked because they followed the law, but maybe they were just rude. You know, so yeah, I mean, if you want to be a judge, you definitely just have to keep in mind that everything you do is going to come out. You have to go through like character and fitness times 10.
So. That's interesting. I never knew, you know, that was the process. Wow. So do they ask all the judges like in your county or in your, I mean, all the attorneys in your county or in your state?
Your state. So basically what happens is you'll get a list. And so most of the attorneys, you know, if they're down in Charleston or Columbia, I don't know them. So I don't click their name as somebody that I know. So you basically click the name of the people that you know or the judges that you've been in front of, and you can answer questions about them. Because, yeah, no, it's statewide. That's just how South Carolina does it. Now, other states may be different.
So how long is a term typically for a judge?
It depends. I want to say the terms are roughly about 4 years, but like I said, it just depends. And then every state also has an age at which you must retire. And I think in South Carolina, it's like 72. So we actually have some judges that I actually really like this year, and they have to retire either this year or next year, unfortunately.
Wow. So if you wanted to continue after 72, you just
yeah, so it's not like the Supreme Court and you can stay on there till you're 100. Here in South Carolina, there is a mandatory retirement age of judges. So.
Wow, I never knew that. So interesting. So Michanna, what comments do you have about the industry that people just entering may want to know?
I think people when they're first entering, because sometimes people go to law school and they say, I want to practice this type of law, but you don't really know. I feel like once you get into the profession, you just really have to be open to different experiences to figure out what you like to do or what you don't like to do, because that can lead to burnout for sure. So I think, you know, just go into it with open mind, know that, you know, you have the degree and you pass the bar. And so you really, you know, your possibilities are endless. I think that's kind of the way you have to go into it thinking.
And last question, what are some key skills that young people, even adults, should think about acquiring when applying to, when they're looking to, I guess, apply those skills to all career fields?
I mean, reading and writing and reading comprehension. I mean, that's what you need. I mean, you need that for everything, even in my science years. But if they're thinking about anything in the legal profession, that is big, because just one word could change, what the law means, or what's in a paragraph, or what's in a contract. So those skills, I mean, they're useful. And if you're going to do real estate, you need to know math. I mean, you can have Excel and you can have these programs that help you, but I mean, the basics, reading and reading and writing, right? Reading, writing, arithmetic,
Yeah.
that change.
Okay.
So that's very important. You need to have a good foundation in that, 'cause otherwise, yeah, you're gonna have a hard time.
Wow. So young people, you're getting your foundation right now in school. So keep working at it. You're reading, you're writing, your math. If you're looking for any type of great books, you can always visit the library, and we are happy to assist. And then the last question of the whole interview is for me, and it's, what are some resources the library offers people who are new to the job market? Maybe they're changing careers or looking for new work due to COVID. You can go to our website 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's at pgcmls.info. You can visit our online library, and from there, go to the jobs and careers section. You'll see Brain Fuse, Career Transitions, and the Learning Express library. There, if you're looking to do a career assessment to kind of see what career might be right for you, you can complete an assessment. You can work on your resume or cover letter. There's also resources there for people who were in the military or veterans. And then if you're a student looking to go to college, there's prep tests, and there's also tutorials for math, reading, and writing. Today has been awesome. Thank you so much, Michanna. We enjoyed you coming to tell us more about being an attorney in the legal field in general. Hopefully you have inspired some young people to think about their future and to try to prepare. And then some adults, maybe they're looking to go back to school, or to maybe not even go back to school, but just do something in the legal field. You gave us some career avenues they can explore as well. So I thoroughly appreciate it. I hope our viewers enjoyed. Again, tune in to us each and every Wednesday at 3 o'clock for Career Chat. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.